Hey folks, it's Kary Oberbrunner. I have with me a very special guest, a long-term friend. In fact, I shot you a text yesterday. 8 years ago yesterday, we were running the streets in Portland. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. It
That is
doesn't feel
funny.
like 8 years ago, does it?
No, man,
Oh my
you're looking
gosh.
great. And listen, you came and spoke at the conference last year, and
Yeah.
the response was incredible. First of all, you delivered a message that was edgy. Your wife was sitting on the stage right.
Yeah.
And man, you made it up on the spot, meaning you took risks. And it
Yeah.
was that the first time in a long time you took a risk like that speaking?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly had taken risks before, but I think the environment allowed for it, right? And
Mm,
that's a beautiful part about the tribe, right? The trust.
mm,
I live in the corporate world by day, and it's very hard to be vulnerable and authentic. And that's the beauty of what you do and again the tribe. It's like you almost have to be, right? If you're
yeah.
not vulnerable or authentic, you
People
certainly
call you out, right? They're like, hey, what's going on?
absolutely,
Yeah, I,
absolutely.
I could see that. So I love this concept. You might have been inspired by somebody else, but you definitely have taken it to the next level. It's
Yeah.
called intention deficit disorder. And I want to challenge the people. We got some people here live with us. A lot of people will watch the recording. But I want to encourage you folks, share this, tag a friend. Michelle from Montreal is managing the comments. We're going to give away, John, we're going to give away something in honor of you. So you pick uh, we're gonna give away. Look, your book's not out yet. Otherwise, I'd be blowing up your book.
Soon.
It's going
Soon.
into the final stages here, but
Yeah.
pick out one of my books, and we'll give away 3 copies to the most engaged member. So you've been
Yeah.
along. You've seen all the books. What do you think? What do you want to give away?
Yeah. I'd say Deeper Path for me. I mean, that's one I go back to a lot. I've probably read it
Sweet.
10 times. I love it.
Okay. All right. So, folks, whoever tags friends, shares, comments the most, Michelle's watching. We're gonna mail you a copy of the Deeper Path. Okay. So John, give us the story, my friend. You know, you came from this childhood with two parents who were teachers,
Correct. Yep. Yep.
and yet you go through some stuff. We'll talk about it, but then
Yep.
this intention deficit disorder. Why do you think it's killing the world today?
Yeah. I mean, I happened upon the term as I was actually researching the book, and it just blew
Mm,
me away that there's a thing. It's not necessarily a medical thing, but basically, it's a doctor, one of the world's foremost doctors that deals with attention deficit disorder, ADD, ADHD, which we deal with in my family. I think I probably have some of it. I think most human beings actually have some of it. But it's really impacted us and our family. And as I was researching, I was interviewing him on my podcast
yeah.
and came across the term, and it was unbelievable. I think it's a God thing how it works. As I'm in the process of thinking through stuff. As you know, the book writing process is many years in the making. And it just blew me away when I read it. Dr. Russell Barkley's the guy's name, and again, the podcast is great for anybody that's impacted by ADHD. But what he said was really ADHD is a self-regulation issue, and it's really more of an intention challenge versus an attention challenge. And it just blew my mind because as I've
Mm,
gone through the journey of life, as we all have, and you deal with adversity along the way, I found that being intentional, so being, to me, it's being very proactive versus being reactive, that makes a world of difference.
yeah.
So I was a college athlete and was, as I spoke on stage last year, was at the top of my game. I won a starting job my sophomore year, was the MVP of a tournament. I mean, my trajectory was on its way up. I wanted to play pro ball, but I was dealing with some personal stuff. My parents had
Yes.
split, had some issues in a relationship, and I was too afraid to deal with it. Really, I was
Yep.
just, you taught. It's not, my parents were amazing, but I came from this old school Italian family. You kind of taught to, hey, put on a happy face, sweep everything under the rug. And it caught up to me. And I got to the point where a sport, soccer, that was always easy for me because I played it all my life. You know, 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell, you build the skill set. And I got to the point where I was such a head case, I couldn't even crossing a soccer ball at times became a challenge. So I went from being an MVP caliber player to literally being the last guy off the bench my senior year, nationally televised game, NCAA tournament. I played, but, you know, so I still was contributing, but nowhere near the potential that I thought I had. And again, this is the other piece. My identity was in a soccer ball. I did not have a strong faith then. And so I struggled for many years with that. And it led to, I got into the business world. It eventually led to panic attacks when I was presenting. So
Wow.
I'm a sales. I've been 23 years and worked for a multi-billion-dollar company. So my job is to present. I got to the point where I literally bonked in a presentation. And it was about 10 years ago. And I realized that I was going about things the wrong way. I wasn't being intentional enough about getting help, talking about the problems I had, being proactive, my faith, all that kind of filtered in. And the theme of all this was intention. And then I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I think it's important. I was figuring some stuff out. I had a couple good years under my belt. I almost got fired, by the way, around this time. Just think about it. You're a sales guy and you're afraid to present. That's not good.
Yeah. That's not good.
But I was getting some help, got some therapy, took some medication, trying to figure things out, diving deeper into my faith. And I started to interview some people in my company of what made them successful.
Okay.
And I mean, the overriding thread, man, was intention. Everybody did things a little bit differently, but the people that were very successful were very intentional about the way they went about what they did.
And let's describe intention, because it's not a word we hear a lot. I mean, we've all heard of ADD, attention deficit disorder. I'm getting distracted. But you're saying, I'll tell you what, man. Do you have some of the back cover copy from your book? Do you have it handy?
Yeah, I can certainly pull it up.
Because I'm like, dang, when I read that, it encapsulates it, and you talk about some of the costs and the price when you're not intentional. And I think while you're finding that, I was just hanging with a guy named Joe Polish who dealt with addiction. Mm-hmm. And kind of like what you're saying, I know your story a little bit. Wasn't it alcohol? A little bit?
Absolutely. Alcohol, drug. I mean, I was numbing everything just to get through. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what Joe says that I thought was really interesting on Monday is he says, this is going to freak people out. What I say, I got to unpack it. He says alcohol is the solution. Drugs are the solution. And people are like, whoa, what? Alcohol is the problem. No. Alcohol is the solution for what you're dealing with inside. Yeah. It's just a really bad solution. And you can't take away the solution, the alcohol or the drugs, without fixing the problem. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it because it's so true. Whatever it is, whatever our gods are, whatever we numb it with, alcohol, drugs, women, TV, social media, whatever that is, that's a solution to everything, right? That's why you think about habits in general, all really this is it's stimulus and response. And in between, there's this gap that we're trying to figure out. We have stimulus and triggers all day. And the addict, right, makes the bad decision. We've been there with certain things.
Yeah.
You've talked about cutting. You had a stimulus and an anger, and how did you solve that?
Yeah.
You cut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Self-injury was the solution. It was, I say it was a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
To deal with the problem, and these coping mechanisms, we think are the enemy, when really we just need to replace it with a better solution. So let's talk about the back of your book. Yeah, read some of that a little bit, because I think people are going to be like, and hey, we might have our first book winner. Why? Because Earl Earl is commenting. So here's what he says. I was put on ADHD medication at 58 years old. Learning about ADHD has been a game changer for me. I bought a ticket to the Igniting Souls conference last year, but missed the event because I lost track of it. Earl, we need you there. You would have heard Jon. Thanks for being here today.
This year,
you gotta be here. You gotta be here. Yeah, that's right. So talk to us, Jon. Read some of that back cover.
Yeah, and just one quick comment too. I am no way diminishing ADHD or any of that. That's not where I'm going with this. It's a real
because you have a very loved one. You have a very tight family member. Correct. So you've seen the tough side of it.
Yeah. And there's certainly medical things you can do to address that, but there's also this intentionality piece of it that I think's more important, I would say. That you can, whatever hand you're dealt, right? If you're intentional about serving, especially, and making the best of it. So yeah, I'll read a little bit of it, and you tell me where to stop.
Yeah.
Okay,
go for it.
The world is distracting. Are you paying intention? Our fast-paced lives don't allow much time for reflection, and our relentless pursuit of more, most of us end up with far less. Peace eludes us, frustration finds us, and unfulfillment ravages our souls. In 2013, author Jon Giganti nearly became another statistic. His job hung in the balance, and the condition of his marriage was even worse. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't like the person looking back at him. As a father of two, he knew something needed to change. Thankfully, he received a second chance. Working harder wasn't the answer. Focusing more wasn't going to fix it this time. Jon needed something drastic. He started paying intention, and when he did, the solution emerged slowly but steadily. Jon discovered a process that changed everything, but firstly him. This is where true transformation always begins, with ourselves. And with intention, you'll see how wrapping purpose around life is not only possible, it's essential to living a masterpiece. And in this breakthrough book, you'll learn and leverage the 5 components of the With Intention wheel. Awareness, agency, ambition, action, and adjust. And there's
Stop there 1 second.
Yeah.
Do you have the wheel near you? Because I feel like a lot of people write stories, a lot of people write books, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like you've developed a process and a paradigm. And if we could show people that wheel, I think they're going to be like, because I'm a visual learner, and I think people are going to be like, wow, this is good. So folks, as he's getting this, this is the type of stuff you're going to hear at Igniting Souls Conference. We have 5 tracks this year. We call it WISE Authors, W-I-S-E Authors, stands for Web3, Influencers, Soul on Fire, Entrepreneurs, and Authors. And so you're going to have main sessions, but you're also going to be able to choose breakout tracks. Jon, I think we put you as Soul on Fire in that track, because I mean, it's true. Like, you back in 2013 were not a soul on fire, and you had to go through this. Try sharing your screen at the bottom, and then I can add it to the live stream. But I feel like this wheel, if you can't find it, I can.
Yeah, I found it. I absolutely found it. So I'm sharing, and then I'll click over to it as soon as you tell me.
Yeah, go for it.
Just do entire screen here.
Yeah, folks. So check this out. You're gonna like this. He calls it with intention wheel. And so I got this. Yeah, there you go.
You see it?
And then just blow that thing up. I'll tell you if it's centered, but yeah, keep blowing it up.
This is gonna sound stupid. How do I blow it up? Just here?
Yeah, try that. Yeah. Perfect. Yep. Love it. Almost there. Perfect. Okay. So maybe go one less. Go 175. And Lily's commenting. Thanks, Lily, by the way. Alcohol and drugs damage the brain, and things get worse. Alcohol is actually a really bad thing for everyone. It's more dangerous for people who have ADD and ADHD. I'm very familiar with this because my husband was diagnosed, and I took him to Dr. Amen to scan his brain. That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So the With Intention wheel, talk to us. What are we seeing? And talk about this.
Yeah. So this is a process that, again, it's come from many years, again, a lot of trials, and then a lot of successes too. So, and I've been fortunate. I lead a sales team now. So I've been able to work with a lot of people to really come to this conclusion. I tried to really simplify it like any framework. So first step's awareness for everything, self-awareness. So where are you at today? For me, it was really coming to grips with, okay, I've got an issue that I have to solve. But with that, the second step's agency. And really, I think of that as ownership. So, I know last year the conference was all about agency. So this idea that control what you can control. But for me, it's take ownership. So you have awareness of where you are today, and it's, hey, I'm gonna own it. So whether it's good or bad, especially the hard stuff, that's a really big piece. I don't want to underestimate it. And it's really hard to do, but to actually own it, for me to be able to say, look, I need help. It's in today's, look, if you look at the numbers, it's unbelievable. I think I just read there's, I don't know, 25% of people in the world are now taking medication for depression or anxiety. It's up from like 15% before the pandemic, something like that. And those numbers may not be exact.
Right.
But I think it's okay to not be okay. Look, we've all faced a lot here. And the more we can be upfront and talk about it, the better off we'll all be. It's unbelievable. You'll be amazed at if you struggle with someone, have a family member or whatever, and you actually talk openly about it, obviously in a respectful way. Every time I talk about any of this stuff, it opens people up. And they come back to me and say, thank you so much. That's helped me a lot. And then typically they pay it forward and open it up to someone. I will tell you, after I spoke at conference last year, and I posted something on social media, there's some great pictures, and I reference some of this stuff, I think on Facebook or Instagram. I had so many people either comment or message me of, hey, I'm dealing with this. And it's led to these little relationships of encouragement, I'd call it.
Yeah.
Right. So don't underestimate the power you have to impact someone by being authentic, I would call it, for sure.
So your transparency basically empowered and gave other people. I love it. Okay. So talk about ambition. I love it. Awareness is I know it. Agency is I own it. And then what is ambition? Yeah,
ambition is I see it. It's a vision for the future. It's a vision for a different state. So you're here. Your current state is that awareness. You own it as part of that process, and then you see a better future. Vision. You can't underestimate vision for anything. If you you've got to think big and think bold and think differently, that wherever you're at, even if you're at the top of the mountain, what happens when you climb a mountain? Well, there's a second mountain or a whole series of mountains once you get to the top.
All right. So, because you and I are working together on this book here, it's been amazing to be helping you. You have so much insight. Write this down, John. Okay. Because I'm just feeling it. I don't want to forget this. So awareness is what? Let's say awareness is I know it.
Yeah.
Or I see it. Okay. Agency is I own it. You said that. I love that. So awareness, let's say I see it. Agency is I own it. Ambition is I want it. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in our session later. And then action is I do it. And then adjust is I change it.
Yeah. If you look, Kary, on the left,
you already have that?
Yeah. So obviously we can iterate. We have awareness, I know, agency, I care, ambition, I see, action, I try, adjust, I improve. Here, because you can see my table.
That's so good. I see it now. I have to look really, really small. Yeah. No, this is good. Okay. I love it, John. Perfect. All right. So now we move into action.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that.
Yeah. To me, this is where the rubber meets the road. So action is the work you do to close the gap. It's as simple as that. And I think you guys are giving away one of my interviews with James Clear.
Yes. As a bonus. Oh my gosh. We're going to talk about that soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's obviously his work with Atomic Habits. I think most have probably read that. I think it's sold about 8 million, probably up to 9 million copies now. It's a #1 book in the world, but had a front row seat in his journey. I met him back in 2012 and had the chance to interview him a few times on my podcast.
Yes.
And that's, this idea of, I think we make too big of a thing about habits, and this idea of, it takes 66 days or 21 days or 100, whatever day. I mean, there's all this science around it and this research. But what James has done so clearly, which I think is beautiful, is this idea of identity-based habits. And it's just, hey, if you want to be a writer, wake up today and write. And guess what? You're a writer. If you're watching this now and you've never written a book and it's a dream, start writing, even if it's 50 words. And guess what? You're a writer. And so I think it's, you can take that mindset, and I've been able to do that through the years of just taking action, imperfect action, by the way.
Yeah.
I struggle with, this working with me, I struggle with perfectionism, right? So it's this idea of just imperfect action.
Love it.
There's so much to that. I dive into a lot in the book, and I think in my talk in October I will, but this idea of designing your environment so it sets you up for success, right? This idea of making sure you have the right team, the right people that are influencing you. There's so much that goes into this piece, but that's really, again,
it's awesome.
If you start at square one, you got to take action. And then the fifth piece, there's adjustment. So you're always looking at this process, and it should become a flywheel where you have momentum, and then you're constantly adjusting and constantly trying to get better as you go.
So good, man. Well, listen, it has been amazing to see your journey, because, when I first started meeting you around the John Maxwell time, and then you and I went to World Domination Summit, and then, you came to Shawshank. I've seen your journey, and I'll say this, you were absolutely in your element on stage last conference.
Thank you.
I mean,
wow. Thank you.
I could see it. I could see the fact that, because I followed you on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram the few days after, besides the stage rush of a lot of people coming and saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing."
Yeah.
How cool was that? We even brought your wife on stage, and she,
amazing.
Talk about that. How did that help your marriage? Like, that was probably the first time she saw you.
Yeah.
Sharing that. What you think?
Yeah. First of all, Michelle's amazing, and I think God's got a plan for her to speak and do all this stuff. And part of my journey is getting her to do this as well. But it was, someone asked a question, I think, about family, and I thought she was better served to answer the question. And so I think you said, so I think my wife should answer this. And he said, bring her up. And she was
that's right.
Out a little bit, but did great. I think my wife's been amazing. By the way, our marriage almost ended through this process, right? If you can imagine, I was going through a lot and didn't always make great decisions. I'll just be frank with that. And so it's a God thing too, man. We've got deep faith, but she was always very supportive. And I can tell you, this is a really important thing. I literally was having panic attacks speaking. So for me to get on a stage now I've worked very hard. That's why this process is so important to me and why I want to teach it. Because I went to Toastmasters at 7 a.m. every Thursday for 2 years, and had the first time I spoke, my hands were shaking. Again, sales guy that's always spoke. I was a speech champion in high school. I didn't have any problem speaking, and I lost it, just like I lost soccer. And so I've been super blessed to fight my way back, and it's not me, it's God. It's having a lot of people in my corner. And to your point, my wife's one of them. And now I will tell you, before I spoke at conference last year, every time I speak, I still get that fear. But what I've learned is to push through the fear.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get on stage, those doubts go away. And yes, I do feel in my element.
So good. That's
awesome.
It's
a privilege to do it. I'm excited to be back in October, and thank you for all you've done for me. You're a great friend and mentor, so I appreciate it.
Well, and we're looking forward to having you, and it's going to be awesome this year to have your book there.
Yeah.
I'm reading the final version here in the next few days, and man, I can't wait. Each version is clear and clear. So yeah, your bonus is unbelievable, folks. John's right. James Clear right now is like go look him up on Amazon. He's like the #1 author. And Jon decided to give us a bonus that it's him kind of before James blew up.
Yeah.
And so this is like one of those highly valuable interviews that you can see. I always like that. I like to watch people before they blow up.
Sure.
Because I'm like, okay, look, they had no idea that in 2 months this was going to happen to them. Let's see what their brain space was before. And
Yeah.
I always think that's pretty cool. So when you get a conference ticket, folks, again, we're in the super early bird phase. Today's July 13th, July 15th. It's over. Ticket prices are going to go up. We're going to release certain tickets to certain program purchasers. So like this is the final step. This is the final chance where if you want to secure your ticket, and this year we're going to be at the International Center for Creativity. So I'm right across the street from Hilton, and we had a blast there for about four years, but now we're going to go and have it be more of an intimate conference. How cool are you looking forward to that, being with only 250 live, and then a bunch of people will be online? But what do you think, Jon, from a programming standpoint?
I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. I've never been to that spot, so I'm excited to be there. It sounds really, really cool. I can't wait.
Awesome. All right, folks, get your ticket right now. And Jon, thanks for being here. And yeah, we can't wait to give away your bonus and purchase your book as soon as it comes out, my friend.
Hey, can I tell one 30-second James Clear story?
Do it.
I had lunch with him in 2017. Atomic Habits came out late in 18. He had missed his second deadline with his publisher because he signed his book deal in 15. Here's a guy and he told me, he said, I'm not sure I'm ever going to finish it. I'm not sure I'm meant to write a book. He was writing weekly stuff, small articles. It just is such an important message that keep going, keep producing,
yes.
Right? Because here's a guy who probably had almost gave up. He struggled. Again, took him 3 years to finally get it out there. And he's the #1 book in the world. And he writes about habits, by the way, right? So if he struggles, then the struggles you and I go through, all of us go through, we have to take that perspective and know that let's just keep pushing forward.
Well, and you just know a bunch of great people. I mean, I remember when you hooked James and I up to do smoothies right across the street here at Smoothie King. And yeah, I mean, he seemed like a very humble, dude who was just trying to make it happen. And I think that's a great advice. Lily says, when is the event? Lily, you need to come, my friend. Go to ignitingsoulsconference.com. It's October 21st to 23rd. But I would challenge you, everybody, I would challenge them to say, you're not James Clear. I'm not James Clear. Yeah. Jon's not James Clear. In fact, you and I, especially you, but you had to undo that mental
for sure
hurdle. Oh my gosh, this has to be the next greatest book.
Yeah.
But I think that there's imperfect action today, that theme, and I'm going to take that with me. So good job, my friend. And thanks for adding value today.
Absolutely. Thanks. My pleasure. Great to be with everybody.